Hey guys, Ike here from Mike'sOutdoors.com. I'm here today to do a video for all you new archers out there. I watched a video on YouTube the other day, and this is a guy who had no reason, absolutely no excuse for making archery videos on YouTube at all. I've got 20 years experience doing bows, doing bow work. I've owned my own shop, and when it comes to bows, I can tear them down, take them apart, tune them, do just about anything to them. This kid was brand new, and he didn't know the names of any parts of the bow, didn't know anything really about what he was talking about, and then at the end of the video he dry fired the bow. So I'm going to talk to you guys, you new guys, about to archery, different parts of the bow, and some just safety precautions to the bow, and just some general common sense stuff that most guys have to learn the hard way. We're gonna teach you right here today. So we're gonna cover a lot of stuff and try to cover it. I'm not gonna get too thorough, but we're gonna cover everything that we can possibly cover about bows. One thing, got my bow here, and this is my Maitland Kinetic. And first thing is, never dry fire a bow. A dry fire is when you pull the bow back with no arrow on it and you release it. When you do that, all the kinetic energy that would normally transfer to the arrow will actually be absorbed by your string, your cams, and your limbs. If you're lucky, just the limbs will get damaged, or just the strings will get damaged. But if you're not lucky, you're going to mess up the strings, you're going to mess up the cams, you're going to mess up the limbs. So in extreme situations, you can absolutely destroy this bow. If you're lucky, you're probably going to mess up the strings. Maybe not even that if you're shooting low enough poundage, but more than likely you're going to mess up the strings. And then the thing after that is a dry fired bow. I never really trust them, because you never know what damage is done to the inside of the limbs that may pop up later while you got the bow full draw. It may blow up in your hand. So never ever dry fire a bow. And one of the best ways to keep from doing that, and one of the most common mistakes I see people do, is they're checking their form, they're checking their draw length, they're checking something, doing something, and they pull the bow back without an arrow in it. So don't take this thing and just stand right here and pull it back. Put an arrow in it. Go out to your target, put up a target, you know, do something like that where you got a good safe backstop. Put an arrow in this thing and pull it down, pull it back. And then if you don't feel like you can let it up, or for some reason you don't want to let the bow up, you can actually shoot the arrow. But then you can check your form, you can check your draw length that way, whatever you need to do. But never pull this thing back without an arrow in it. Now I do that from time to time, but I do it on a draw board, and that's a completely different situation. You guys that are, if you're new to archery, you don't even need to know what a draw board is. But so that is rule number one: never dry fire a bow. Always pull it back, have a safe backstop, and have an arrow in your bow. So we're going to talk about the components, different components of a bow. The main piece of your bow right here is your riser. On your riser, you're going to have your grip. You're going to have your sight mounts right here where your sight mounts go. You're going to have your burger holes. These holes right here that this rest bolts to is called your burger holes. You're going to have your limb pockets, which on this it doesn't have a traditional limb pocket, but you're going to have your limb pockets up here where your limbs are going to attach. You're going to have limb pockets on the bottom where your limbs are going to attach. You're going to have a stabilizer bushing in the front where your stabilizer is going to attach. And you're going to have, usually on most modern bows, you're going to have a string suppressor coming out the rear of it, and you're going to have a cable guide, a flex guard, some kind of roller system coming out right here to guide your cables. So that's your parts of your riser. Like I said, your main piece right here is your riser. That's where you grip the bow, and to the riser you're going to actually attach your sights, your rest, and your stabilizer. So that's where that goes. And of course, you guys who don't know, sights. Pretty easy to install. 2 bolts drilled and tapped. The riser's drilled and tapped for it. Just bolt them right up. Rest is a little bit more complicated to install. If you're new, have a pro shop do that for you. Stabilizer is pretty easy. Yeah, just screws right here into that bushing. So just pretty simple, easy thing to do. Usually a wrist sling. I don't use a wrist sling. I actually don't use a stabilizer with this bow. The wrist sling will come up and go around your wrist, and when you're shooting and you don't grip the bow will fall away and you won't drop it. So that's your riser, and that's some of the components that go on the riser. Now the next part of this thing is going to be your limb pockets. Like I said, this doesn't have a traditional limb pocket on it. Some of them are going to have a piece of metal here, and your limbs are going to slide anything in there under. This has a limb harness, but anything that controls your limbs is where your limb pockets are hooked to your riser. And there's going to be a bolt right here that's going to adjust your poundage. If you're new to bows, don't mess with that. You know, if you want to adjust your poundage, I've made a video on how to adjust your poundage on the bow. Check that video out, or take it to a pro shop and have them change the poundage for you. Because if you change the poundage incorrectly, it can get your bow all out of whack. So that's where you change your poundage on your bow. And the key to this is really simple. If you turn this one twice, turn this one twice, the same direction. If you tighten it up, it's going to put more poundage on your bow. If you loosen it up, it's going to put less poundage on your bow. And like I said, if you tighten this one, 1 turn, a half a turn, 3 turns, you do this one, 1 turn, a half a turn, 3 turns. However many you do on one, you do on the other. Keep those things even. Okay, and if you get them uneven, then tighten the thing all the way down to the max draw weight, and then start backing it out from there, and that'll help you even them up. You can check your tiller, but we're not going to get into that. That's an easy way to get your limbs even back up. It's just by maxing them both out and then starting to loosen them up from there until you get to the draw weight that you want. The next part of this bow is your cam. You got a lot of different cams out there. You got a solo cam, you got a dual cam, you got hybrid cams, you got binary cams, you got all different kinds of cam systems out there. 2-track, 3-track, just tons of different kinds of cams. The main thing you need to know about your cam system is a dual cam is faster than a solo cam. Solo cams are usually smoother than a dual cam. So that's pretty much all you need to know about that. Dual cams give you more speed. Solo cams give you a little bit more smoothness. So that's about it. The parts to this cam, you have a module on here usually, and that will rotate your draw length or change your draw length. If you're a newbie, don't mess with that, because you're probably it's a real good chance of messing the bow up. Some of them have to be pressed to change the draw length. Some of them don't have to be pressed. Some of them are real easy to change the draw length. Some of them are complicated to change it. So you can change your draw length on your cam, but if you're a new shooter and don't know much about bows, don't mess with that. Like I said, this is just common sense stuff. This is some stuff that guys, as a new person, you should do and should not do. So I'm mentioning some of this stuff so you don't do it, because it can really mess up a bow if you don't know what you're doing. So you got your cam system, you got your modules on your cam system. On your cam, you're gonna have a string, which is right here, the one you're actually gonna hook your arrow to, and you're gonna have 2 cables. Now each one of these cables, some are control cables, some are harnesses and things like that, but the main thing you need to know is you have control cables on your bow, and they should go through your roller guard or your string, your guide here. I can't even think of the name of this thing now. Here I am trying to teach you guys stuff and I can't even think of the name of it, but your cable slide. They should go through your cable slide. I have actually seen guys shoot bows where they're not in the cable slide. Some of the older bows, you can actually just put a little pressure on it and you can pop them right out. This one here is self-contained and it's not going to pop out, but your cable should be in the cable guard. It's another thing not to mess with, unless it's unhooked. If it's not in there, take that bow to a shop and have them hook that thing back up for you. So those are basically your parts to your bow. You got your riser, you got your limbs, you got your cams, strings, cables. Another part that you're going to have with this bow is going to be your string suppressor. This is the thing that's pretty universal nowadays, and you're going to have most bows are going to come with one. You should never have to do anything to this string suppressor. It should be pretty maintenance free. Just the general parts of the bow, once again, we've got sight, rest, string suppressor, cable guide, and the actual parts, we've got a D-loop here, or a knocking point. A shop will set that up for you, have a shop set that up for you. You got a peep sight here, which should be served in, and I don't have this one served in yet because I just haven't really fine-tuned this bow and got it exactly where I want it. So you got a peep sight here, and on that peep sight, like I said, it should be served in. Another thing to have a shop do. Another component on most bows today are some kind of silencing vibration material. This one here has deals on the string. I'm not sure what company these are made by, Bojacks or Limb Saver or something like that, but they're just a rubberized deal on your string that absorbs vibration. Same way on your limbs. You've got a limb here. This is a Limb Saver vibration dampener. It's all rubber. When you shoot, all the kinetic energy is going to go into this bow. That's going to help absorb some of that vibration and some of that shock. Same way with a stabilizer. If you put a stabilizer on this bow, it's not only going to stabilize the bow out when you hold it out, certain kinds are going to absorb vibration and make the bow a little bit quieter. So that is pretty much the basic parts of the bow and the things you need to know about a bow. Never dry fire a bow. Never ever dry fire a bow. Always put an arrow on that bow. And another key thing is to check your arrows. Flex your arrows. Every time you shoot, you should grab your arrow by the nock and grab it by the field point and give it a little bit of flex. And if you hear any kind of cracking or any kind of, it makes a very distinctive sound. You know, that carbon's tearing it apart, and it'll make a very splintering, very distinctive cracking sound, and you'll know not to shoot that arrow. If you shoot that arrow and it makes a sound like that, you're likely going to end up with it in your hand. Another thing to be careful of when it comes to arrows is, one, never ever shoot a wooden arrow out of a compound bow. I've seen it done, and a wooden arrow, a compound bow, is just too powerful for a wooden arrow, unless it's an extreme case that I don't know of. Never shoot a wooden arrow out of a compound bow. It's just going to break, and it's going to end up burying in your hand. So another thing with carbon arrows and even aluminum arrows, make sure you're getting the right spine of an arrow. The spine of an arrow is actually how stiff it is. All these arrows, there's a thing called the archer's paradox. When this arrow comes out of this bow, it's going to flex. If you've ever seen Robin Hood, when the new one with the fat guy from Gladiator in it, whatever his name is, at the end when he shoots the bad guy, the main bad guy, and kills him, he pulls the bow up and he shoots, and the arrow flexes like that. That's called the archer's paradox, and every arrow does that when it comes out. So if you're shooting a wooden arrow out of a compound bow, it's going to flex too much, it's going to break. Same way a carbon arrow, if you're shooting 70, 80 pounds and you're shooting, say, a 600 spine arrow, more than likely when it comes out of there, it's going to break. You may be able to get away with shooting it a few times, but eventually that thing is going to break. And when it comes to spine of arrows, 600 spine is a very weak arrow. The bigger the number, the smaller or the weaker the arrow is. So 600 spine is very weak, where a 300 spine is very stiff. So it's another thing to learn about arrows. But do not shoot this thing with a wooden arrow. I've seen it done. I've heard stories about it being done, and it is just a terrible, terrible idea, and it's going to end up with that arrow in your hand. And do not shoot it with an extremely light arrow or extremely underspined arrow, because those will get you in trouble as well. So that's pretty much it. Some of the basic common sense stuff. Too, when it comes to picking out of bows, I get emails all the time about which bow to pick out, which bow's right for you. Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell you which bow's right for you. I own 4 or 5 of them, and to tell you the truth, they all fit me just a little bit differently. I really, really like this Maitland Kinetic, and it fits me very, very good. My Motive is probably my favorite bow. That doesn't mean it's the best bow. It means it's my favorite bow because it fits me very well. As someone who's my same size, my brother can shoot my bows, and I've got 4 bows right now, and he probably could pick them all up, and his favorite would probably be a different one than what it is mine. Same way with you. You come to my house, you pick up my bows, you may like my Experience or my Nightmare better than you like any of the other ones. Doesn't mean it's a better bow, just means it's a better bow for you. It fits you better, it fits your style better, you know. So go out and shoot all the bows you can possibly shoot. And the biggest thing when it comes to archery and when it comes to bow hunting is use some common sense, you know. If you want to learn a little bit about this stuff, send me an email with your questions, ikesoutdoors@yahoo.com. A really good place to look. There's a lot of good forums out there, but the biggest one is archerytalk.com, and I'll put a link to their forum right down in the description of this video, and you can go on there, you can buy, sell, trade bows, you can ask questions. Just be prepared, because it is a public forum. There's going to be some douchebags on there that are going to give you a hard time, so just take them with a grain of salt and don't listen to them. It's just how you got to do it, you know. But there's some really good forums out there. Go to Archery Talk and hit the forum and read and ask some questions, and you'll find out your answers, you know. Or if you've got a shop in your area, you know, tell them you're interested in you're brand new. If you come into my shop and you're brand new and you ask me some questions, if I've got the time, I'll spend as much time as you need to feel comfortable with the bow when you leave my shop. Most shops out there, are going to be the same way, or at least they should be. They should be, you know, catering to your needs, and that part of that need is the knowledge of that bow. So go to your shop and ask some questions, and if they're busy, you know, if you come into my shop and I'm busy, I may tell you to come back later with the questions, but I'll do my best to answer them. But you know, if they're not busy and they give you some attitude about being new to archery, then find you another shop. If it's the only shop around, well, you may just have to deal with it. But use the resources like archerytalk.com, the website, or the forum on there, and you'll find answers to a lot of your questions. These are all mistakes. You're going to make mistakes, and it's all mistakes that we've all made. Every one of us as an archer have probably made the same mistake that you're getting ready to make. So hopefully this video will keep you from making mistake number one, which is never to dry fire this bow. And hopefully this video will help keep you safe, which is never dry fire this bow. And the other thing, never shoot this bow with a wooden arrow in it or an underspined arrow in it. But rule number one is never dry fire this bow. So that is, hopefully this will help you guys out. We'll put the link right below. Ike's Outdoors, I got a ton of videos on there that'll help you guys out. Search YouTube. There's other guys out there. Be very, very careful about who you listen to, though. Like I said, the video I watched the other day, this guy was shooting a Genesis, and he had absolutely no right to be telling anybody how to shoot a bow. Absolutely none. And so be careful who you watch. You know, my videos are good. Of course I say that because they're my videos, but there's several other guys on YouTube who are very good, very knowledgeable when it comes to bows. Check out Archery Talks forum, and before you ask a question, hit the search button on there, the search function. There's probably a thread on there about it. There's a guy named Nuts and Bolts on there. He's got a tuning guide up on top. It's a sticky right up on top. Hit that thing, read that thing all the way from beginning to end. And Nuts and Bolts tuning guide will answer a lot of your questions. But so hopefully this helps you guys out, and hopefully this will keep you safe. And remember, rule number one, never dry fire this bow. So for more information, more product reviews, how-to videos, be sure to visit our website, ikesoutdoors.com. If you have any questions, be sure that you can comment on this video, and I'll do my best to answer them. But the best way to get a hold of me is ikesoutdoors@yahoo.com. Appreciate you guys watching.